Welcome to the Hair of the Dog podcast. I'm Nicole Begley, and today we are going to be talking about inquiries that convert with two of our Elevate coaches, Marika Moffitt from Dirty Dog Photography and Kim Hartz from Kim Hartz Photography. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Hair of the Dog podcast. If you're a pet photographer ready to make more money and start living a life by your design, you've come to the right place. And now, your host, pet photographer, travel addict, chocolate martini connoisseur, Nicole Begley.
Hey everybody, Nicole here. Thanks again for joining me for yet another podcast. I can't believe we're up to 40 episodes. What? Time flies when you're having fun. Hope you guys have been enjoying this podcast as much as I have. If you've been enjoying the podcast, may I be so bold as to ask you to please leave a rating and a review on iTunes. It's just very helpful to help other people start to find this podcast so that they can get the benefits from it as well. Just wanted to share one of our podcasts. This one's from Sheila, and it says that listening to Nicole is like having an explosion of new ideas introduced to your brain on a weekly basis. I love it. She always has something fresh to present, even if it's just reassuring you that your thoughts and feelings are normal. Highly recommend adding this podcast to your weekly to-do list. Thanks, Sheila. Really appreciate the review. And for the rest of you guys, would love to have your support as well. As for today's episode, we are talking about the inquiry process. So you may or may not know, I have created a Hair of a Dog Elevate program, which is a program to help pet photographers scale their business, to help them get more clients, get more done from a place of ease instead of a place of hustle. And we have myself and a variety of other coaches in the program. And today I'm bringing two of those coaches onto the podcast to talk about their inquiry process. So one of the things we really stress inside of Elevate is taking action and focusing on the two things that matter most in our business, which is getting more leads and making more sales. Now, there is this big space in between those two that's a pretty critical piece of the program, and that is converting our inquiries. And a lot of photographers tend to do that wrong because we get in our heads, we get nervous about sending something out, we make up stories, we think it's easier just to respond to an inquiry with an email and a full price list, but how's that working out for you? What got you here won't get you where you want to go if you're not already at where you want to go. So what got you here won't get you there. So we definitely need to look at how we're doing that and maybe make a couple changes. So Kim and Marika are offering some great suggestions today. And I really love this episode. So stay tuned, enjoy, and let's book some more inquiries, shall we? Oh, and if you're interested in being one of our Elevate students so that you can start building your business, growing your business, and living the life that you desire, well, check out all of the details at hairofthedogacademy.com/elevate. We have a new class of enrollment starting soon. Hey everybody, Nicole here from Hair of the Dog, and I am here with my friend Kim Hartz from Kim Hartz Photography in Houston, Texas. And Kim is also one of our Elevate coaches for our Hair of the Dog Elevate group coaching program. So hello, Kim. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Of course, I should say welcome back.
Yeah.
If you guys want to listen to our other podcast we did, oh my gosh, hold on. Let me look it up real quick. So Kim's already been on the podcast. If you want to listen to her previous episode, it is episode 15, where we actually talked about the key to client inquiries, which is pretty funny because today we're also talking about client inquiries because this came up in our Elevate program where we have been helping our students focus on getting leads and sales. But one of the big missing components to that is to make sure that they're able to convert those leads to customers for our inquiry process. We thought, how fun would that be to really all of us dive into our processes? Then I thought, let's make that even better. And we'll share that with the entire Hair of the Dog community via our podcast. So again, Kim, thanks for being here to share your processes with us.
I'm more than happy to. It's so funny that we talked about that already. But yeah, there's always more you can dig into for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, Kim and I were just sitting, we're like, gosh, I know you were on the podcast. What did we talk about? And I looked it up. I'm like, oh, we talked about inquiries. That's pretty funny. But I think we definitely had a different slant to it in that conversation because we didn't go through the exact process. But I guess tell us a little bit about your business, Kim, to start us off, and then we'll dive into that.
Sure. So let's see. I'll give you the quick rundown. I've been in business now full-time for 10 years. About 6 months in, I dropped all the general portraiture and went straight into pet photography as my main area of business. I got a lot of flack for that too, because at the time, nobody was really doing it. And people thought that I was crazy. No one would pay to have their pets photographed, which I think we've all found out that is not the case. People will, and people love their pets like their children. So I've been doing it, like I said, full time for 10 years. I can't believe this is my 10th year. And I told somebody that last night. They were like, what? 10 years? I'm like, yeah. So it's been great. I learned a lot of things by doing things the wrong way and then figured out how to do it the right way. And love to share what I know and continuing to try to make sure I continually evolve my business and educate myself even now, just to make sure, because things are always changing.
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm in the process of, I needed to redo my website for my Nicole Begley photography brand desperately. And I knew there's no way I'm going to do it. So I'm hiring someone to do it. But of course, I'm looking at it to get all the content together and how I want the flow. And I'm kind of like going to revamp my whole business basically from the ground up. And I'm actually really excited about it. So yeah, so I think I think that's one of the biggest myths too, because people are like, well, I'm not ready to go public yet, or I'm not ready to get client check because this isn't done and that isn't done. And I want to be like, when I do tell them, I say, spoiler alert, you're never going to be done. No. And you are always going to be working on your business. And there's always something that you want to improve or change or update. So yeah.
Definitely.
Constant evolution.
But I saw that you were going to be working on that, and it's a big project, but they're fun too. Like the things you can do and the things you can change and the new look. I mean, it almost makes me want to do it. But I need to, I did it not that long ago. I feel like I redid the whole website, everything. But yeah, it's a important piece for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So your business, tell us about it. It is focused on products in like a boutique high service situation.
Sure. So it's, I set it up in the beginning. I wanted to be low volume, higher priced, more of a boutique photography studio that catered to clients who were, fewer clients coming in, but they're spending more money. So I could cater more to the individual client's need versus trying to, pump them in and out and try to, get those mid-range, lower end sales. Because I knew the way I wanted to work is I wanted to develop those client relationships. And I also didn't want to be working 24/7. It's just me. So I don't have, associate photographers or, I don't even know. I mean, I think that's one way you could refer to them, but I don't have anybody working for me. It's literally just me. And I knew that I couldn't maintain that type of a business model, nor did I want to. So that's how my business has been structured since the beginning. But it's been really nice because I've been able to make some amazing connections with my clients, and they keep coming back and they refer me. And so it allows me to continue to shoot the way I want. It fits into my life the way I want. But then having those relationships is great, because I've had people that have come to me since I opened and continue to come to me. And it's hard to do that if you're just getting them in and out, because you can't really form that relationship.
Yeah, 100%. Totally agree. So tell us a little bit, I guess, about your inquiry process. What does that look like? I'm assuming it starts with people come to your website, and then what happens from there?
Sure. So people come to the website and hopefully they look around. I try to keep everything very to the point, because people's attention spans are ridiculously small. What is it, like less than a goldfish, which is like 6 seconds?
We're 8 seconds, or they're 9 seconds or something like that. It's less than 10.
So you don't have a lot of time to capture them. So I think making sure that your website is to the point, they can see exactly what you do very quickly. So, because people are going to know at the beginning, like, okay, either want to pursue this or no, it's not for me. So making sure that you make it very easy for them to make that decision is important. I don't have a lot of text on my website because nobody reads anything anymore. I have very quick, brief, this is how things work. And then of course I have a little book now button, which takes them to the contact page, because you can't actually book on the website, because I want to talk to people first. But it takes you to the contact page that has you fill out some information, send it to me. And that's one way you can inquire. And so some people do that, but then I also have, which is super important on your contact page, you need to have your phone number, you need to have your email, you need to have your hours, You need to have your city. A lot of people don't even put where they're located, which is it's just insane. I mean, obviously I'll travel, but if you want to know where I am, like if I'm in your city and available that way, put it on there. And I also put by appointment only so that people know they can't pop in. But having your email, your phone number, and that other information I just mentioned is super important because a lot of times people will just have the contact page and maybe somebody wants to call. I mean, you don't know exactly who this person is or, which client bucket they fit into. Maybe they don't want to do everything via the internet. Maybe they prefer a phone call. So have that. I mean, this is my little soapbox.
Yes, and client contact forms can break. I actually just had 2 inquiries email me last week, found my email on my website because I have my website or my email listed too. One got in touch with me via social media, one via email and said, hey, I've been trying to contact you. Your contact link's not working or your contact form. Mm-hmm. So yeah, those things break. And if there's no other way for people to get in touch with you, all of a sudden you're going to be like, why haven't I gotten any inquiries in so long?
Right. Yeah. So it's super important to have lots of ways that people can contact you because that link is broken, but also I always like to think of some of my best clients are empty nesters and they don't want to deal with the internet as little as possible, some of them. So they want to call me. So you have to have that option. But so people go there, they find that information, they figure out, okay, which way do I want to contact her? And I also have kind of a fun little message instead of it just being like name, phone number, email, message. I put under the message, what do you love about being a parent? And then in parentheses, it's okay if your kids are furry. And I get the most interesting comments, but it's already engaging people and creating that relationship. And it's fun, but on the contact form too, I do require email and phone because I want to be able to contact them both ways. And some people are hesitant about the phone thing, but the phone is one of the best ways to convert clients or potential clients to actual clients. So I think it's really important to have that.
Do you ask them how they prefer to be contacted or you just call everybody?
I just call everybody, but that's a good point to bring up that it's something maybe I should consider because some people don't want to be called. Some people prefer the email. I just like the phone call because I feel like it adds that extra layer of personal attention. Even if I don't get, which the majority of people I do not get on the phone. I get a voicemail, but at least I've left them a voicemail and then I email them after the fact. So that they know I left your voicemail, but I'd love to chat with you. And then they'll follow up with whichever way they prefer. But I think that phone call makes a big difference because the way the world is, nobody has any personal connection. It's all text, it's email. And some people don't want to connect with people, on the phone, but some people do. And I think making that extra effort is what puts me in front of other photographers if they're reaching out to a wide variety. And that's one of the best things, especially with my empty nesters. They love that because I've taken the time to actually call and talk to them because a lot of people just want to chat real quick. It may take, 2 minutes, but they get the information they need versus back and forth on email, and it is more personal.
100%. And definitely knowing your target market. If you're catering to empty nesters at all, I think it is critical to have ways that are most convenient for them, which, they're not going to want to spend time on the computer. And I actually find myself, I hate the phone, but I use it. But I've been finding when I have a question for a business, I don't want to email them. I want to call because I get so much email that I do a contact form and I'm like, I don't know if I'm ever going to see that response. I know they'll respond to me, but I feel like it's going to get lost in a filter or somewhere in my email where I just want to call and get an answer. So I'm starting to see the light of why people actually want to call and talk on the phone because you get immediate information.
You do. And I think that makes a big difference, especially now, because I like the same thing. Like I'll submit a contact form for something and then I don't know if I'm going to hear back. Sometimes you don't and it's just easier to just pick up the phone. And I remember being terrified to call clients in the beginning and I had to remind myself, these people reached out to me. They want to hear from me. So why do I not want to use the phone? And it's not like I'm cold calling them,
Right, exactly. And I always start my conversation out, like if I get the email or if I get their voice message, I'll leave a nice message. I'll say, I'm sending you an email to reach back out to me, whatever's most convenient for you. And if they answer, I introduce myself and I always ask them, is now a good time? Which I think is just like the easiest thing we can do to basically get permission to be like, okay, yes, they want to talk to you. You're giving them an out. You're not bothering them. They're not like trying to get out the door or do something. Like you're asking them, is now a good time? And they'll say yes or no. And if they say no, you can ask them, is there a better time that we could chat? Because it provides a level of service that sets the value up for your business and what you offer above and beyond the people that are maybe doing more volume or even offering what we're offering, but they're just not people like to feel special.
They do.
I think by you taking the time, even though it's 30 seconds to call and leave a message, and I get the same thing, 95% of the people I call, they don't pick up. It's always surprising when they do. And I always have that nervous moment of like, oh,
right?
I'm going to talk to them.
You actually answered the phone. This is strange. Yeah.
All right. So what happens after that initial phone call? Let's say you leave a message, kind of what's that process then after that?
Sure. So like you said, 95% of people don't pick up the phone. It's very, and then you get flustered when they do. It's like, oh man, I got to be on it now. But it's true. So most of the time I leave a voicemail and then I follow up with an email. And the email basically says, hey, I got your contact form or I got your message or whatever. I reached out to you, left a voicemail, would love to chat with you about a session with me. And I give them brief information like I like to start with a planning session, which I tell them briefly what that is. It's a complimentary appointment to make sure that we're a good fit. So the whole time I'm writing this email, it's not a long email, but everything is catered to them, like to make sure that I want to make sure that we're a good fit, that I'm the right photographer for them, and that this is a complimentary appointment. So you don't have to book me, all these things, and I'll say, please reach out to me. Like you said, whichever is more convenient, via phone, via email, and we can chat more about planning session and what you're looking for. And then I kind of leave it with them for a little bit. And then if I don't hear for several days, I'll follow up again with an email typically. I don't want to, just call them. I won't do any business via text message though. And I don't like doing it via social media as well. So if they do reach out to me those ways, I'll try to divert them to, hey, email me or call me.
Yeah. I think that's a great solution or strategy, because if you're trying to manage all these different channels, things are going to get missed. And people are usually super understanding when you say, hey, do you mind emailing me that way? I always just blame it on Facebook messages are pretty fickle sometimes. I don't always get them, which is true.
It's true. Yeah. So typically people do email me back after the first round, but I have had people who are like, oh, I totally missed the first email, so don't feel like if they don't email you back or call you back initially that it's just over. Sometimes things do go into the junk folder or, and so
or they're just busy.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I don't I'll send an email, let's say if it's on a Monday and they don't respond, then I might send one out maybe like Thursday or something. I'll give them a few days to, find it. And if they don't find it, and then some people you won't hear back from because maybe they're just price shopping. But for the most part, if they've contacted me, I'm going to hear something, as to, okay, I want more information. And then from there, we go into here's how the process works. And I'll get them on the phone and I'll talk to them about the planning session, what that appointment entails. The fact that it's complimentary is very big because people don't feel the pressure of, okay, I've got to book you. And I like the planning session. It's one of my favorite appointments. It's one of the most important appointments, I feel like, because it allows me to really get to know that person, that pet, and to figure out if we are a good fit. And a lot of times I can do that over the phone now too, just from talking to someone. But that's also where I can get them fully invested and I can turn them from that potential client to that client.
And when you were doing them in person, being able to see the artwork again provides that value, and they start to fall in love with, start to picture that would look really nice in my house.
Right. For sure. And those are questions you ask too during the planning session. So even if they don't know, they start to think about it. So it already starts the sales process, even though you haven't exchanged any money, you haven't necessarily booked a calendar date, but it's already getting them thinking, which is super important.
Yeah. One of the first things I ask anyone that inquires with me is, have you given any thought to what you want to do with your final images? And 90% of the time they're like, not really sure. Like they just, they know they want to do something, but they don't even know what's out there, which when they say that, it just leaves the door open to explain, let me tell you about what I specialize in. Most of my clients, which is my favorite phrase to say when I'm talking to clients, most of my clients like to do XYZ. And, if you've had one client, guess what? That's most of your clients.
Right. They don't need to know how many you've had.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So with COVID, have you changed? Are you doing your pre-session consults on the phone now or Zoom, or how's that changed?
Yeah. So it's been interesting for sure. I definitely have been doing more virtual. I have done several planning sessions in person, recently actually, and we masked up and we kept our distance. And, because part of the way I do it is with a planning session, if I'm photographing at the client's home, I do the planning session typically at the home so I can scout the location in advance, see their wall space, things like that. But this one was at the studio recently. It was a white golden retriever. He was absolutely adorable. But I want him to see the studio and I want them to see, the artwork. And it's to get the dog comfortable, the people comfortable with me. So it was very interesting with the masks and everything. But I did do it. We sanitized. It's hard to do a planning session virtually. Not to get the information I can easily do virtually. It's the meeting of the people and the pet, which I really hate to not do, but of course I've done it because it just is what it is right now. And then things were getting better. So that's why we did it in person, and now they're getting worse. So, but I've done more sales sessions actually via Zoom. And it's been just fine. It's just the same way, except I share my screen and, so I've been doing more of those virtually than planning sessions. Yeah. But I think it's going to go more that way pretty quick, unfortunately.
I know.
But it's nice to have the option.
Yes. It's very, very fluid and flexible. And it is good to have a plan. And, this is, I guess, more advice for the time we're in right now too, where I've been giving my clients lots of options of, because I would be comfortable with them coming to my sales room and, we wear a mask and keep our distance. I could even open a window. It's a beautiful time of year now here. Right. Or, I give them the option to do online sales. So just giving them that option, I feel like makes them feel like, they get to do what's comfortable for them as long as you're comfortable with it. I mean, you number one have to figure out what you're comfortable for in your business and then figure out your options from that.
Definitely. I think that's super important is the making sure that you're comfortable first, because I know that some people, and this has happened in Elevate, where it was the beginning of COVID, and I heard some people were shooting and then their clients were refusing to wear masks. And it was like, oh, I've never encountered this before. What do you do? And it definitely is figuring out your own comfort level first. And whatever you're comfortable with, then getting those options, I think is super important, because you have no idea what your client is going to be comfortable with. So you don't just want to be like, this is the option.
Yeah, this is how I do it.
Right. Yeah. And
you have to come here.
Yeah. And too, like when you're shooting, I mean, this was a big conversation we had in Elevate too, was, okay, well, when I'm shooting and wearing a mask, it's really tricky because it's hard to use my noisemakers. If you're outside, if you're distance, you can probably take it off. But like I did that shoot with the white golden retriever recently in the studio, and we both were wearing masks. And I did tell my client, we were like 12 feet apart. And I said, I am going to have to take it off to make some noises. And they were like, it's fine. We were further, but it was tricky. It was, they got to put it back on and, can't breathe. Oh,
I know.
In the end, it's worth it,
It's crazy. Yeah, no, it's definitely helpful that we can still be working with happy to wear a mask to still continue to be able to do what we need to do.
Right.
Thanks again for sharing your process with us, Kim. Is there anything that you really want to stress, or like the most important piece of this inquiry process that you want to get across to everybody?
Sure. Well, thank you for having me, by the way.
Of course.
It's always fun. So just one of the things too, I know we've talked about people not wanting to be on the phone and not wanting to, bother these people that are actually reaching out to you and want your wonderful, pet photography, but you have to follow up. A lot of people will say, well, they didn't hear back and I don't want to bug them. And, you need to follow up. People want to hear from you. And so I'm not saying like, don't be like a political phone call that calls you like 10 times a day, but, which I've been getting a lot. But you still want to follow up. And if at some point they reach out and they say, yeah, don't want to do it, fine. But don't just let things fall through the cracks, because people do actually want to hear from you. So make sure that you are trying to follow up with those people that have contacted you. And then following up too after, like if you have a planning session, getting them to secure that date to book. Don't be afraid to ask. If you ask, the worst thing they can say is, no, I'm not going to do it. But for the most part, if you get them in for a planning session, even if it is a virtual planning session, if they take the time to spend with you, even though no money is being exchanged, I guarantee you the majority of people are going to book if they take the time to do a planning session with you.
So I found that as well.
Yes. I mean, they're getting invested in the process. So don't skimp and not do a planning session for one, but follow up. Make sure you can get that planning session. And then at the very end, you just ask, okay, so when do you want to schedule your session? And you can convert them that way. It's really a very simple process. And it's once you do it a few times, if you're nervous, you'll get better at it, and it's not that hard to ask. The worst thing you can do is not ask and not book.
Yeah. I think the hardest part for everyone is not the process at all. It's what's going on between their ears. That the self-talk that they give themselves about making up stories of, oh, these people are never going to want to book me. Oh, why would this person book me? Oh, they didn't get back to me because they think my work is terrible and they think I'm overpriced. And oh my gosh, I should lower my prices. And who am I to be charging this? And all of that stuff comes up.
Right.
But it has nothing to do with what's actually going on.
No.
So yeah, when you guys start to have these crazy thoughts, just stop and remember, these people contacted me. They are interested in learning working with me. And to help maybe have that cemented a little bit more, I want all of our listeners out there, I want you to think about something that you were excited to purchase, something that you were really excited to do or to purchase. And you put in your inquiry and you're waiting and you had to get confirmation from somebody. Were you excited or bothered that they contacted you back when you're anxiously awaiting for more information? Pretty positive that you were pretty excited to hear back from them. And likewise, if you heard back from them and it was like, oh man, I really want to do that, but I really can't afford that right now. Are you going to sit there and say to that person like, no, and have this like horrible, just like, I don't even know what the right word is, but this just like festering feeling like they are just wronging you because that's what they charge? No, you're probably going to say, man, I can't do that right now, but I'm going to save my money and I can't wait to come back. And I don't know, Kim, if you have this, but I find a lot of my inquiries, if they don't book me now, the people that say, oh man, that's more than I expected. Not everyone, but more than a few have come back to me a year or two later and booked in the future.
Yes, no, for sure. And you think that, oh, I lost that person because getting in your head again. And you can't worry about it because I've definitely had that happen. I had a lady who came to me 2 years after she'd initially even heard of me. Yeah. And I always ask, it's always a good idea to say, how did you hear about me? Because you never know where people are finding you. And she heard about me from I do the, every once in a while, Neiman Marcus will have SPCA adoptions. Well, they do it every year. I doubt they're doing it this year. But they have an artist just do the windows. And I've been able to do it 4 times now. And so my art is hanging, and I've done photography, I've done encaustic art. But my name is right on the window. And she saw me there 2 years ago, and it took her 2 years to come to me, but it's still out there, Yep. And I've had people save up. I mean, I do offer payment plans, all things that you can tell people. And it's totally fine. I mean, as long as you're getting the word out, and people will convert at some point. Hopefully it doesn't take 2 years like that one lady, but she was a great sale. So it was worth the wait. But yeah, no, some people will take longer than others for sure. But it's really important to do that process and to have them go through it. And then another thing is to be very transparent, I've found, about how you work. Make it very easy to understand what's expected of them and of you. I think it's very important to be transparent about your pricing, because the worst thing is if somebody comes in and they love everything you've shot and then they see the pricing and they're like, wait, I can't afford that. I mean, who wants that feeling? That's awful.
Yeah, that's awkward for you and for them. And they walk away with a bad taste in their mouth. Yes. And you feel guilty and horrible and want to lower your prices and just like deal with them. Yeah. And one other quick thing that came up the other day in one of the Academy group or the Elevate group, I think it was the Academy group, was when you're sharing your prices with people, a lot of us feel like we need to share our price and then explain why we cost what we cost. But our clients don't care. They don't care. You don't need to explain it. You should just share, this is what the process is. This is what it costs. And then shut up, let them process it for a minute and ask them if they'd like to schedule their date.
And you made a good point right there. The shut up part, because when you're doing a planning session, you don't want to talk about yourself. There's a lot of places in there where you need to just be quiet. Yeah. And when you give the pricing is one of them. And I did have one husband come once and he goes, why is it so expensive? And, you kind of do have to address that question when it's directly at you. And I just looked at him and I said, my work is an investment in art for your home. And that's all I said. And I just, boom, done. And he was like, okay. And that's it. But you can't, the moment you let self-doubt creep in and you start trying to explain, well, my costs are this or don't, because it's just going to cut you at the knees. Don't do it.
Like you're not going to walk into a Lamborghini dealership and be like, why is this car so expensive? Like,
and you give me a discount
for this or the Kia.
Right. No, totally. Yeah, exactly. That's a great way to put it, because you think about all the range you have out there. I mean, where do you want your brand to fall within that scheme? And if it's, Lamborghini or, Ferrari, it's going to be expensive.
Right.
It is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're not making deals. I mean, yeah.
No.
So, yeah. Oh, man, this could go into quickly a whole big pricing conversation.
It could.
I'll have to have you back. We'll talk about that. But thanks, Kim, for being with us. Let our listeners know where they can find you.
Well, you can find my website at kimhartz.com, and it's HARTZ. Always have to spell it like the flea and tick collars or the fried chicken. No relation to either. But that usually helps people. And I'm on Instagram at Kim Hartz Photo. And then you can find me on Facebook too, Kim Hartz Photographer.
Nice. Excellent. And then, of course, Kim, you have Pet Photography EDU and the Hair of the Dog Academy and in the Hair of the Dog shop. And then we also have you as a coach in the Hair of the Dog Elevate program to help photographers go further faster with their business. So thanks for being with us. And I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It was fun.
All right. Talk to you soon. Thanks. Hey, everybody. Nicole here from Hair of the Dog, and I am here with Marika Moffitt from Dirty Dog Photography in Seattle, Washington. If you're saying, Nicole, wait, that sounds familiar. I think you've had her on the podcast before. Yes, in fact, I have. Marika's been on from episode number 8, talking about collaboration, which was so good, must listen, and episode 33, talking about community over competition, also a must listen. And I realized that I've just given you guys a gazillion must listen episodes from this one episode before we even get to this. But before you go to those, stick around for more inquiry talk. Marika, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Again.
Thank you. It's always wonderful to be here. I love chatting.
Yes. It's always awesome to have you here. Always so many good conversations. So today we're talking about inquiries because you are also a coach in the Hair of the Dog Elevate program, where we help photographers really get a handle of their business and grow their business and get the support that they need for that. And we were talking about focusing this past fall on leads, which lead to sales. But there's a very important missing step in that leads and sales, and that is how you manage your inquiries. Mm-hmm. So you actually had the brilliant idea of let's make some inquiry help for our Elevate people, which is just exciting and awesome. And then I thought, oh my gosh, I think the whole Hair of the Dog community needs to get a little sneak peek at the inquiry process that we all use in our business. Mm-hmm. So thanks for being here to share that.
I love talking about anything business, so I'm happy about it.
Nice. I love it. Well, for those that maybe have not listened to our previous podcasts from you yet, tell us a little bit about your business and where you are and all that good stuff.
Yeah. So I am a pet photographer in Seattle, and I really focus on the story. I've built my business around story, and my favorite product is my portrait book. And so everything I do is really just about creating this beautiful book for my clients. I do a lot of other things too, but that's my heart work. I love to learn my clients' stories and to help them create a way so that when their pets are gone, because we all know that happens eventually, that they can stay connected to their pet stories through looking at this book and sharing it with other people. So
I love it. You know what else I love is that I just had Kim on, and we all have similar businesses, but very different, because you love the book. I am a huge fan of the wall piece. Kim's main focus is also the wall piece. So it's just so interesting to me. And one of my favorite things is just that how everyone's business can be built really around what they love and what they want to, bring forth in the world and serve their clients with. And, so if someone is like, I'm not feeling albums, you don't have to sell albums. Same thing with I'm not really feeling like metal. I know people love metal for whatever reason. I have never liked my work on metal, so I don't offer it.
Yeah.
Somebody asks, I'll get it, of course, but it's not something I promote.
Yeah. I just had my monthly Elevate coaching call yesterday, and we talked all about building packages. And my big focus around building packages is to build it around that thing you love. What is it that you want every single client to have? And because if you're trying to sell something you don't love, you're not going to sell very many of it. And it was such a great conversation. We actually went 2 hours talking and just going through it, because I showed everybody my journey of building of my packages over the past few years. And it just, I think it opened a lot of people's eyes to like what's possible. But it's that exact thing. I asked everybody, it's like, what's your favorite product? And there were totally different answers. And it was so cool to see that and see, I was like, you can build your business around those things and share it with the people that you're working for, and they will trust you.
Yes. So. Yes. And one little side note, even though this isn't, it's kind of inquiry related, is that we're talking about like what our signature product is. And I look at so many pet photographer sites and there's beautiful pictures. There is no signature product to be found. I think a lot of us miss the boat at talking about what it is we actually do. Because yes, we're pet photographers, but there's more than that. Like we need to be talking about what we really do in order for, for people to get excited about, working with us. Awesome. All right. So let's jump back to your business. You love the portrait book. So you're focused on products, doing in-person sales. So Marika, tell us a little bit about how your business is structured.
Yeah. So I am definitely a lower volume, higher price sort of thing. I'm not quite sure if I'm the highest priced pet photographer in Seattle or not. I haven't gone that deep into research, but I know I am up there. And that's just, I decided that from the start that, because I believe that price for the life you want. And so for me, I would love to have like consistently just 4 clients a month. That's great. I would love that, because there are a lot of other things that I do that are not client-based, they're community-based with rescues. And that takes
listen to episode 8, everybody.
And so that takes a lot of my time. And so I have to be higher priced to be able to afford to do all of the things that I'm not getting paid for, because
they're giving, but
they are really important to me. And I am the process working with me. It's not like a show up, we're done, goodbye. It's hi, we have a lot of touch points. We're going to get to know each other. I care about my clients and I care about their pets. I cry with them in their sales sessions when, and I care very deeply about them. And I'm also just a super emotional person. So I take on a lot of emotions from people. And that's also why I don't want to do more than
that's exhausting.
Yeah.
I can't cry that much in a month, even though they're happy tears because you love them. And then that also happens to me too. Every slideshow, if they start to cry, I'm like, oh, okay, great.
And
here
now,
I
go. And it's really interesting, like over Zoom watching, I am really loving doing Zoom sales sessions, watching my clients watch the slideshow, because they're not looking at me and they don't necessarily see me looking at them. Because they're like, so it's been really interesting shifting everything from in-person to in-person over the internet.
Right.
But so I'm definitely probably more boutique style, except I don't have like a storefront. I'm all, it's, everything's portable. And right now everything is just right here in my office where I'm under my blanket.
It's the best way to be. I got my pajama pants on. I mean, amen for home offices.
Yes.
I love it. Awesome. So since we're talking about inquiries here, go ahead and let's start with kind of your website at the beginning of the inquiry process and give us some look into what that looks like.
So I use a lead capture form. I use 17 Hats as my client management system. So I have a lead capture form, which is and I also, people can email me as well if they want, but I prefer that they go through the lead capture form because it creates a little profile and I have an email that gets sent to them when they fill that out that actually invites them to book a consultation with me. And once they book their consultation, which is over Zoom, they get an inquiry guide that looks almost exactly like my full pricing guide, except it doesn't have full pricing. It has starting pricing and it has information about what the whole process of working with me is like. It's probably 5 pages. There's not a lot. There's not a whole lot in it. It's a pretty fast read, but it has photographs of actual products of clients' products. And also I have a link to a landing page that has a video of my portrait book sample. And it gives like, hey, this is the most loved product or the most loved way that my clients enjoy their images from their session. And this starts at $2,500. And so I'm giving that number straight off the bat because I that's what I want everyone to do. And I want them to kind of recognize, okay, to do this experience, that's about what it's going to be. And then during our Zoom call, we're going to talk about pricing in more detail. And we're going to talk about all the products. I'm going to show them what's possible. We go through, we look at my packages. And more importantly, it's the opportunity for them to tell me what they're looking for and to tell me about their pet and about just their whole story. And then they can ask me any questions that they want to. I forgot one step before the consultation. I'm sending them a questionnaire. So I have gone through a whole process this year of shifting my inquiry process because of COVID.
Yep.
And also because for the last couple years, I was sending my pricing in that first email.
Right.
And even this year, up until I think July is when I was sending full pricing. And then I had an email process where I was like checking in and I was still trying to get them to do a consultation.
Right.
And people were not doing the consultation because they were getting that full pricing and they were not getting me. And I need to tell you about this brain download I had this week. I have realized that this process is sort of like when you're out on vacation and you're looking for somewhere to eat and you're checking out the menus on the windows of restaurants, and you're completely judging that menu based on what you know. Because if you don't know all the words that are on the menu because you've never eaten the thing, you're gonna be like, okay, I will go over here and look at the price and see if I can, or I'll just look through the menu to see something I recognize. Chicken, okay, I know what chicken tastes like. But if you don't go inside and speak to a human being who works there and can tell you can recommend something to you and say, this is what this tastes like, or here, let me show you, like, this is what a lot of people love. This is what I love. It's our responsibility as business owners to get butts in seats and tell them what the specials are and tell them what our favorite thing is and to ask them, what do you like to eat? What is your favorite taste? What do you not like? Like you can't do that if you rely on your menu just to be there to bring people in. So
I love that parallel, especially as someone who loves to go out to eat and misses that terribly from this whole COVID situation. Yeah, because it's true. You go to certain restaurants and you're like, I don't really understand this menu, but it's supposed to be really good. And then you start talking to the server and, you're like, oh, I love this and I love this, but I don't really love that. What do you recommend? And then they're telling you about these different menus. And all of a sudden you're just like, oh, I want all of these things now. And it builds the experience.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you noticed a big difference then from pre-July sending the pricing as soon as they inquire to now where you're bringing them along.
So my goal, like my journey over the past couple years has been like that, just sort of this going through the process and coming up against challenges. Like at first it was like, oh my gosh, everybody's ghosting. Like they're just not emailing me back. Oh my gosh. Right. And then there's so many people who are like, don't ever call me. Do not call me. I will never answer the phone or anything. And I'm kind of like, I want to meet my client, meet these people where they're at. So I want to do what makes them comfortable. But I know now at this point, we need face-to-face. So I was implementing things to get to try to see if I could just get them to respond to me. I would rather them tell me no than nothing. So
then you can at least close the lead and ask and just say, okay, thanks. So follow up and oh, sorry, just real quick. I just want to jump in with the, like, when people say no, it's always a great opportunity to just, thank them for getting back to you and letting them know, like, if you do have like any limited edition sessions or shorter price, like smaller price sessions or special events, you can let them know and basically ask permission. Hey, is it okay if I reach out to you when this happens in the future? They always say yes. And I was just talking to Kim on her inquiry process about how some people say no now because it is out of their price range now, but they're going to come back in a year or two and become a client in the future.
Absolutely. That's what I discovered in the process of shifting my mindset from like, ooh, I feel weird about continuing to reach out to like, I will reach out until they say no. They've reached out to me for a reason. And so it comes down to figuring out what things you can say in your emails to invoke a response. And then it came down to people saying, yeah, right now it's not the right time. Or that they would actually say, you know what, I love everything you do. And I think that it's totally worth it. It's just not in my budget right now. But so then I know that that person is a maybe at some point. And so exactly what you just said, that it's you need to find these things out so that you can have this running list of this person was interested. I'm doing this special thing. I should reach out to them and find out. And it would make that person feel so good to know that you thought of them. And so that's sort of where I was at in like February. I was like, finally, I was getting this great system of people responding, but they still weren't booked. They weren't getting to the point where they could talk to me face to face. And so over the summer, a lot of inquiries that was sort of happening. They're like, they were responding, but they're like, it's just not in our budget at this time. And I just was like, I just want to talk to you so we can go through this process. So then I shifted and I stopped sending full pricing. And it was basically, you want to see full pricing? We'll talk about it in person or face to face over Zoom. And I've had several inquiries since I shifted this that were, even though they didn't book, they were some of the best consultations I have ever had because we really got to speak and I got to hear from them. And they were really impressed with the process because I ask questions that they've never been asked before, just like many of us do. It's like what our questionnaires are. And so they're already thinking about this because they filled their questionnaire out before we've met face to face. And so they're already thinking about it. And I think I had one person say, the questions you asked made me understand how much you care. And I was like, that's the best thing I've heard all year.
That's
Thank
awesome.
you. And so for me, and I tell people in my consultations, like, whether we work together or not, like, that's okay. It's okay if we don't work together. If I totally understand, but I just want to let you know that it's really awesome that you're going to do this, that you're going to have portraits taken of your dog or with your dog.
Yeah.
You're going to be so happy that you did it. And I really hope that we get to work together. But if we don't, that's okay.
Yeah.
Because I never want anybody to ever feel bad about not being able to work with me. If it's a budget reason, for sure. But I'm also not going to budge on my my pricing. So
yeah, it was created for a reason.
Yeah.
So on that inquiry questionnaire, what are like your one or two favorite questions to ask people on there?
I love a newer one that I have is tell me about your pet's name.
Oh, that's a great one.
Yeah.
There's always a story.
Yeah, because if it's a name they didn't pick because they got it from it was the name their dog came with,
right,
and they might then share that story.
Yeah.
And this is actually something I'm going to be adding new things because we actually we had our first ever Elevate Yappy Meower last night.
Which is the best name ever.
Yeah, it was super fun. And we were talking about social media and captions and how like that can be a big hang up for people because you're like, I just don't know what to say. And so I was telling everyone, I was like, this is the opportunity to have your clients create that content for you is on your questionnaire. Ask them questions that will set you up for great captions. Like ask them something like, in one sentence, tell me your favorite thing about your pet. Or in 3 sentences or less, tell me a story about like the naughtiest thing your pet ever did. And just things like that so that it's captionable. Like you can take that later when you're sharing a portrait from their session. Or if it's like when you're asking them about, hey, what are some of your favorite characteristics of your pet that you want me to capture, and why, and then give a little bit more draw out a little more information about like, why do you love your dog's nose, or like, what is it about your dog's tail or your dog's ears, or blah, blah, blah. And then when you're going to share that on social media, you're going to take that and you're going to quote it. And that's just, and then of course you can ask an engaging question later in your caption to get more people to engage with you. But it's using your questionnaire to draw out those sorts of things is really important.
Which works so perfectly in your brand too, of your focus on the story and then asking people to share these stories. And that's really what makes the connection between us and our clients is then they're sharing these personal things with you. And then that automatically kind of elevates you from person they're doing business with to more of a friend level. Yeah. And they become more comfortable and you become more comfortable, and then you're just creating magic. Yeah. I love it. I love it. So I think the biggest hang up for people in the inquiry process is trying to get actual human to human verbal conversation in person, on Zoom, on the phone, in some manner for that consult. Yeah. What have you found that's works to actually get them to take that step? Because once I was talking to Kim about that, and once they do commit to that consult, her and I both have found that a high percentage of people do then move forward and continue with the process and book with us. But there's a lot of inertia to get that booking.
Yeah, I think it's hard because everybody's so different. And it also comes down to us individually, what our comfort level is in inspiring people to get on Zoom or on the phone.
And I think this is where a lot of people's their mindset really gets in the way, because they're already telling themselves stories. Often when that inquiry comes in, how many times does an inquiry hit your inbox, guys, that you're just like, oh, they're not going to bug me. Like, you say that to yourself before you even get back to them. Like, what kind of intention are you putting out to that email and that energy to getting back to them when you already are starting to think that? And we just tell ourselves all those stories of, they're going to think I'm too expensive. Oh, they're not getting in touch with me because of this, that. Maybe they've just been busy. Maybe they're on vacation. Maybe, who knows? Yeah.
Well, this is where I think it can, using questions in your inquiry form, if you're using an inquiry form, sometimes people will just straight up email you. But by starting the process there, asking some sort of question that gets them to start sharing their story. One of mine is I think the big question right now that I have on there is asking them, what would it mean to you to have a photo session of your pet? And I think one I had before was, tell me about how your pet became a part of your life. That one always gets and I can tell by if someone is like, bought him from
adopted him, whatever,
or got him from a breeder. I'm like, okay, we still move forward because maybe they're just in a hurry. But if they're telling me a story already, then I'm like, okay, there's a better chance they're going to want to talk to me and tell me more. So I think that it's a matter of starting that process and then continuing it in your initial email to invite them to meet with you to talk about the process. If you just make it a fact that like, this is how, like, to get to the next step, we do need to meet. And if they are serious about it, they're going to do it.
Yeah. And then I think the other key is probably highlighting the benefits for them of why they want to. Like, why do they want to take 20 minutes or half an hour or more out of their very busy schedule to do this? So we have to highlight why it's beneficial to them.
Yes.
When you were saying about that inquiry, it made me think of something I heard literally earlier today in a training I was listening to, that getting someone to have a little commitment leads to a bigger commitment later. So getting them to have this little commitment on your inquiry form just buys them into that process with you just a little tiny bit more than if it was just like, send your email. Okay. Hey, and then it's the same exact response to everybody. Yeah. I love that. Okay, so they do their inquiry form. You send a little questionnaire and book the consultation. And then at the consultation, do you then book the session with them on the consultation? How's the rest of that process go?
I have found they usually do still need a little bit of time, because this is when they've seen my full pricing for the first time. And I show them all of my products, and I learn so much about them and their pet and what they would like to have captured. And we just talk a lot. And it's like 20 to 30 minutes. It depends on the person and how talkative they are. And I always want to respect their need for time. So we just, at that point, we discuss how many days they need and whether or not they're going to follow up or I'm going to follow up. At that point, I kind of let them lead it in terms of just because they know what works best for them. If I don't hear from them on the day that they say, then I do follow up.
Okay.
For sure. But also I do follow up after the call and say, it was so nice to meet with you. I'm looking forward to the next steps.
Yeah. Excellent. I love that.
If they're ready to book, if they say, okay, we want to do it, then we do that.
Yeah.
I will never say no to that.
Yes, exactly. You're like, all right, well, let's pick out a date. Are you doing the consultations in person, or were you before 2020?
Before my last in-person consultation was at the end of January.
Yeah.
And everything is over Zoom now. And I honestly might continue that. Because I have to right now.
Right.
I believe that right now is, if you're in an area where you're still doing things in person and you can safely, that's great. Still learn how to do it over Zoom, because I think this is an opportunity for us to become more flexible and understanding for clients who may need that. It may work better for them to meet over Zoom. And doing your sales session, like, I thought that I was nervous about it,
Right.
I had a $6,000 sale over.
Yeah.
So
I had one of my biggest ones over Zoom too, and it doesn't get in the way. The only challenge, which has it been a challenge for you because, they're not able to feel and touch and hold the products. Are you taking those to the session?
I did. I have brought my book to the session. I still have to be careful about with COVID.
Right.
Some people are maybe don't want to touch
ready
anything.
to touch. Yeah, right.
But I have done a beautiful video of my book. So people they see that it's on my website, but then also I send it to them in the inquiry process so that they can watch the pages being turned. But in our consultation, if I'm showing them and if they are kind of like, ooh, I'd love to see that in person, then yes, I will bring it to them in person.
Okay. Perfect.
But,
perfect. I love it. And I think the biggest, there's a lot of takeaways here. Definitely one takeaway is, guys, we need to be talking about what it is we sell. We need to be talking about what the final product of this session is because people have no idea. All of a sudden, they're like, oh, I love my dog. I do want pictures. They might see somebody else's pictures on social media or somehow, if you have stuff out in the community. But rarely do I get customers coming to me already knowing, I know I want a wall piece and an album and this and that. And I love those customers that do. But they're few and far between.
They're usually a referral. They're usually right. You did it for somebody else, and they're like, "I want what they have."
Yeah, or they're a repeat client. They're like, "I have a new dog, and I'm ready for another wall piece." And I say, "Excellent."
Yes.
But we need to be talking about that, and not just talking about I take pretty pictures. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love it. Thanks so much for sharing all of this with us, Marika. Is there anything else that you want to share? That is important for all of our listeners.
Well, I think just take care of yourselves. We've got 2 more months of 2020 right now.
2 more month years.
Yeah, 2 more month years. Even no matter what year it is. I know we're a business owners. We hustle. Remember to take time off. That's my big lesson right now. I gotta do an equal amount of rest as I do hustle. So everybody else.
Self-care is so critical, especially with all the craziness that's going on in the world right now. Definitely take care of yourself.
Yeah. And 100%. One other thing, we always like to end with a call to action, right? Yeah. If you aren't currently doing Zoom consultations, go ahead and find a friend and practice.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yep. Yeah. And then the sales Zoom, I know this is an inquiry podcast one, but the sales Zoom, I have found my process for my in-person Zoom sales is exactly the same as my in-person normal sales. There's only one caveat that I didn't realize at first, and that is in Zoom, you have to allow the sound so that your client can hear your slideshow music too. So it's just a preference. Yeah. And it was like April. I'm like, oh man, I've done some Zooms because I've done some Zooms for faraway clients, which also even not in a global pandemic, one of the reasons to get comfortable doing that is because then you can serve people that are further away that maybe are going to travel to you for the session, but they can't travel to you for a consultation and the session and a sales session. So it's just a good business practice to know, global pandemic or not.
Yes. We're all leveling up in 2020, whether we realize it in the moment or not.
Yes. Yeah. And one other thing too, just a little reframe for you guys too, because I know sometimes it's scary being an entrepreneur and a business owner in crazy times. And you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know. Like I'm the only one responsible for making myself money, but you're responsible for making your money and you don't have to rely on another business that you have no control over, that they might just one day be like, oh, we're closing. Oh, your department's cut. Oh, you're out of a job. That you have so much more control here, and that we are a small business that we can zig and zag and move with the market. And so that's, I think, something to be super thankful for.
Oh, that's so good. Yes.
Agree. Awesome. Mark, again, thank you so much. Let us know where people can find you.
At Dirty Dog Photography on Instagram, and that's DIRTIE, and dirtydogphotography.com on the interwebs. Yeah. And on Facebook, you can find me too. Yeah.
Excellent. And you can find her as a coach in the Hair of the Dog Elevate program if you guys are ready to grow your business and get the support that you need to make magical things happen. Marika, thank you so much again for being with us. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Hair of the Dog Podcast. If If you enjoyed this show, please take a minute to leave a review. And while you're there, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss our upcoming episodes. One last thing, if you are ready to dive into more resources, head over to our website at www.hairofthedogacademy.com. Thanks for being a part of this pet photography community.